What's happening, guys? I figured I'd do another video today just because I'm getting blown up on Twitter DMs, and it's the same question. Like, hey, how did you know? What do you look for? And how do you find the next one? And to me personally, I think that those are the wrong questions to ask. Most times people don't really care about potential swing ideas and thoughts until something like this happens, and then they think, okay, they just have to ask the questions. What did you see? How did you know? To get the next one. And it just doesn't work that way, right? So over time, you start to see things, screen time, over and over and over again. You start to see short traps. I feel like one of, a couple of my biggest assets in the trading world is the ability to kind of anticipate potential range, parabolic situations, and then I think kind of understanding supply and demand from a short trap perspective, and when things should have died off, faded off, when people potentially are too one-sided on particular names, right? So if you guys remember a while ago with Kodak, I did a video, the Sunday Scan, and I said I feel like we're really, really close to a KBIO, some type of big moment. And it was literally 3 days later, and we had it. And then go back maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, maybe 5, with WWR, and Sunday Scan mentioned I feel like we're close to something. And so it's not necessarily just a one name type of move that you're looking for. It's really kind of identifying and understanding where we're at in the market, and when people are starting to get complacent, how stocks are reacting, and like I said, when they should have died and they didn't. And in this particular situation, APVO, shorts have been buried, absolutely buried for a long time. It's something, I think it was 2 or 3 million float. Don't quote me on that. I think it's around 3. But either way, it's super, super thin. Trading 10, 20, 30 million shares. Price is not pulling back. And, it did have a couple days of easy to borrow. And what does that mean? So, typically I look at situations for short squeezes, and I take into account whether or not it was very scarce, right? The inventory was scarce. How many people were actually able to locate the stock? And no offense to any new trader, but I feel like if stock is expensive to borrow, if there is only X amount available, then it's probably going to go into the hands of people that are maybe more experienced, right? And that doesn't necessarily mean they're gonna trade it better than a new trader would. But point being is that mom and pop don't have availability to that borrow. However, on this particular case, they did. And it was easy to borrow at every single clearing firm that I had for 2, 3, almost 4 days in a row. And that's 4 different clearing firms where you could short at will whatever you'd like. And when you're up against 2 or 3 million shares in the float, it's not that hard to basically absorb the entire float, as you saw with the 13D filing on Friday. Now, could you have known that was coming? No, you couldn't know that was coming, but you could assume that somebody is absorbing the float, given the fact that, one, it kept on swiping. We saw this swipe, I think it was on MGEN, and Cohen came in. And so you had this huge volume, but it was just slowly fading down. But then you had these big swipes, and it changed the way in which the stock was trading. And very similarly with APVO, we had that situation where, swipe, consolidate, and shorts never got let out. And what happens is people put these momentum trades all in the same basket. And they think just because the stock is up, it has to go down. They think just because they need money, they have to raise. But it's not always the same case. It's not always going to play out the same way. And shorting just because something is up is a very dangerous game. So at any rate, I compared it earlier in the week to NXTC and KRTX, one of those two. I'll post it in here. And I had trouble with KRTX. I remember that one, and it was it stung for a little while just because great entries, but it never let you out. I had a good entry, and then it started to come back, and I had a great entry, it started to come back, but you continually kind of build into that position against trend to try to better your average, and all of a sudden everybody hits the stop button, and they blow up. And so that's what happened with that name, where it went from, I think it was like 20, 30 to 50 to 80, all the way up to 120, 130 the next day, if I remember correctly. But then we also had NXTC. NXTC was a situation, a bio name, where it just got on the got on the wrong side for people. The shorts got a little too aggressive, and the float was soaked. And fortunately, I was long on that one. That was a fun one. Not really any size, and same thing with APVO. I had insane size at the 820 call that you guys saw earlier in the week when I said shorts were buried. So if you take that screen time, if you take the notes that you make, the understanding that you have from the prior days, and you put that into your game plan each day moving forward, in my opinion, you're going to become a better trader. So I had a whole bunch at 820s based on the fact that it had gapped up, it faded off, and it never really died. It was just going sideways. So there was an immediate swipe midday, and I had posted the chart and also wrote in the room that I was going to be present on dips, right? And I was basically risking to 820, and I think my entry actually was 840, 850, 880, 920. I just kept on adding to that winner. And from that day, even the next day, it had a weak open, and then it swiped back up. Next day, weak open, random swipe back up. So at that point, no shorts were able to get out unless you traded it perfectly or a little bit less size. So unless you had the gap up, it opened, gap down, flushed, there was about 15-20 minutes that you could cover, and after that it was red to green, and after that it had another swipe. So if you think about it in terms of where are shorts stuck, what are shorts doing, there's a good chance that they're going to wait for it to fade back off, and then it never happens. Then they're down another three, another three, another three. So anyway, we've seen this situation before. The fact that the filing came out after hours was a lot like KBIO when Martin Shkreli ended up taking about 50, I think it was 50 or 60% stake in a company that was on the brink of bankruptcy. And shorts, got smoked, and it went from 40 to 60 the next day or so. With APVO, the writing was on the wall. Was it obvious? No. If it was obvious, then shorts would not be squeezed, right? And so I think that needs to be the question that's asked, rather than what did you see, how can I find the next one, how all this kind of stuff. I think what you need to focus on is what ones have the potential. And just like I said, APVO and ALTM have the potential. But the reason why I thought that APVO was more likely was because it had all the shorts. It was easy to borrow, it was absorbed, the trend was holding. Now, ALTM, that could potentially still go. That did pop up after hours on Friday, and given the situation, the people may be looking kind of for the next one. What else could go nuts? And just like NXTC and KRTX back in the day when those went, ALTM could be a very good sympathy trade for it. Now, I have a position in that one as well, and I would not recommend chasing at all. But all I'm saying is that these types of situations kind of fuel each other, and you have to be able to recognize and remember, what happened on NXTC or what happened on KRTX, and what was it that you saw, and how were they acting. And when they stop going down, and they continue to trend, to me, it's not necessarily that, oh my gosh, they've ran, 8, 10, 12, 15, 20, I can't chase it. It becomes, what could I risk for the potential if I'm right here? So for me, I was carrying I was buying dips at times, and I had sold out, and then I rebought, and I just wanted to carry some just in case. And this type of trade is not something that you can just be like, okay, it was obvious. It is I was willing to risk 5 for the potential of a 20, 30, 40, 50 point move, because it met these parameters. It had the potential. It had the markings that it was, very possible to be one of those types. And that's all I need as a trader in order to take that risk, that trade. Otherwise, I'm just looking for the next. And anytime that there's a special situation like that, I'm all over it. I'm looking for it. And no, most times they do not do that, right? Most times it's not a black swan event. But if there is the potential of a black swan event, and I like the risk versus reward, I like the 5 risk for the 20 reward, the 3 risk for the 15, the 2 risk for the 10, whatever it may be, then I'm going to take it. And so that's, where my head's at on this trade. That's, how I traded it. But it's all about being able to go back and tap, the memory bank, I guess, of trades that you've made before, and, apply that to these current trades. And, APVO was exactly that. And so I hope a lot of you guys crushed it. I hope a lot of you guys had that opportunity to get a piece. Like I said, by the way, I'm in a hotel room because I've got the wedding today. But just because I kept on getting so many messages, I figured it'd be easier to do a video. But the other part of that is, like, how do you hold, right? How do you hold when the stock goes from 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, and so on and so forth? When do you sell? How do you sell? Honestly, if I was on my desk, I probably would have sold it $30, right? $35, I don't know. But the fact is, I was at a rehearsal dinner, and my phone starts blowing up, and everybody's like 40, 50, 60, and I just don't even know what's going on. I'm trying to pay attention, and I realize that APVO is at $80. So, incredible. I hope, those of you guys that are in the community, we're able to have a good piece of it, or at least a small piece of it. There's no reason to be sized up. I mean, yeah, it would have been nice. It would have been nice to have what I had, the size that I had at $8, but the realistic or the reality of this situation is you should not be super sized up, because obviously the risk is there, but the risk reward for the potential was good in my favor, and that's why I took that trade. So anyway, I wanted you guys to see the broadcast as well. And we do a broadcast every single morning at 8:50 a.m. So I wanted to share with you sort of my thoughts beforehand, rather than doing a video in hindsight and say, oh, I called it, I didn't have skin in the game, blah blah blah. No, I want you guys to see real time, ahead of time, what I do in the mornings on the 8:50 a.m. calls. I want you guys to get a feel for that. And yes, I still have a position in APVO. Yes, I was overnight. Yes, I had it from the 20s on this batch. I think it was 20 and change, or 23, something like that, 23, 24. I don't remember exactly. But I want you guys to get a feel for what we do in the morning, every single morning. And once again, I'm going to remind you, you don't just all of a sudden get interested because a stock went up, 3, 4, 500%. Most people will try to take advantage and say, hey, that was my call, and come sign up because you can get the next one. That's not what we do. All I'm trying to do is try to show what and why and how I look for potentials, and what are the signs that I look for, and all I care about is anyone or any types that have the potential of turning into a monster. If they short trap, if they have float rotation, if there's a liquidity trap, if there's numerous times where they should have died but didn't, continue to hang on, if they're easy to borrow. All of these things wrapped up along with the trading action, the current market environment, traders getting complacent. That, in my opinion, is what you guys should be looking for. That, in my opinion, is the questions that you should be looking for, and not the, hey, can you put out swing picks? Hey, can you tell me the next one? Hey, can you do this? Can you do that? That is not going to make you a better trader. So anyway, I hope this helps. We're going to put the broadcast at the end, as well as you probably saw some tweets during this video, just to kind of see, yeah, it happened ahead of time. And yes, the thoughts were there. And yes, the trade was spelled out. So I do hope you guys either had a piece, learned something, or in the future you can utilize, sort of this, what to kind of look for the next opportunity. All right, guys, we'll see you for Sunday Scan.
APVO, I feel like this one and ALTM, one of these two will have some type of fireworks. But a couple of people asked me, like, what are the key levels? What are this? What are that? I just don't think it's that kind of trade. I think it's you got to kind of identify, see if it pulls back, see if it traps, see if it kind of acts trappy, and if it does, then you've got to trade, and if not, then hands off and just kind of see what it does from there. I think that APVO is going to be a difficult trade. I think it could come into 18 and then do a random swipe. I think this one has the most shorts out of all of them, but I think a lot got squeezed out and then maybe repositioned. And then this ALTM, it was easy to borrow at Wedbush yesterday, but it's it's one of those situations where it's like people get confident because it's not very easy to borrow, and who could be short and who could be caught on the wrong side, et cetera, and then all of a sudden it keeps on going. So again, I'm not super bullish, but I am open-minded in the fact that if this does get over 31, 32, 35, I mean, it's very possible that it could do some crazy type of move like we've seen in years past. We had this big move over here on NXTC and similarly on KRTX around that same time. So am I saying that these are going to do it? No. Is it possible if these trends hold? Absolutely. And it's rare that you see, a small, tiny float. Will it be today? Who knows? Will it be at all? Who knows? But the fact that it has a chance is why I'm interested.